Recently, DOT made some changes many have spoken out about.
You bet, boss man.
One experienced and thoughtful trainer affected is here today to ask for your help. His position is simply that CDL trainers need a seat at the table. To find out what he thinks, tune in to Truckin' Headlines.
Recently on this channel, we examined whether the recent announcement from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the FMCSA signals a temporary cleanup or the beginning of a lasting course correction in trucking credentials. If you don't know about it, look for it on the channel. It is a great video. I challenge you. Exercise your mind. Now, tonight, the conversation moves a little bit closer to the ground because real reform really doesn't start at a press conference. Even Sean Duffy feels it starts from the training schools. As soon as I get my computer to cooperate with me, we always have technical difficulties on this show. Go figure. Come on.
Because every test is going to be required to be given in English. The work here is just beginning, and it has been a very thoughtful process. The debate really is, do you want well-trained, well-qualified drivers behind the wheel of a big rig driving on American roads? The DOT has a role in having smart, good rules to protect the American people.
As I said, we'll be working closely with our law enforcement partners on this. The driver training schools responsible for ensuring CDL applicants meet safety standards. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Went into 1,500 of our driver training schools, and we found that over 550 of those driver training schools were cutting corners. We are not done here. We will continue working to make sure that they are compliant.
Today, we're talking with a CDL trainer who has reacted strongly to the announcement, particularly around what many are calling the non-domiciled loophole and other things. His position is simple, and it's pretty direct. If safety is the priority, then trainers need a seat at the table. He believes enforcement after the fact is only part of the equation. The real filter, the real safeguard, sits at the front end of the pipeline, where drivers are trained, where they're tested and credentialed. And according to him, that's where gaps still currently exist. During the show tonight, I want to hear from you in the audience. Tell me what you think. Tonight, we're going to look at what he's seeing inside the schools. What concerns him about credential integrity and why he believes YouTubers, especially those in social media and industry voices, need to amplify the message that real safety starts before the key ever turns in the ignition. So, with that being said, let's begin. Come on, where are you? Dun, 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 dun. There we are.
The most important guest tonight is watching right there at home.
Welcome in to Truckin' City.
Now let's use our voices to make trucking great again.
Greetings, truck lovers and truth seekers from all over the United States of Truckin. Boss Man here with Truckin Headlines. This show focused on what others miss and what we could learn from it. Channel focused on critical thinking fueled by faith, sanctioned by God, and also focused on making trucking make sense again. One of the stories making the rounds is from the U.S. DOT. Recently on this channel, we reviewed the presser with Sean Duffy and Derek Bars, laying out the groundwork for some changes coming up in 2026. You've all seen it. You've all heard it. We briefly touched on one of those changes affecting drivers announced by them at a press conference, getting a lot of airplay. So let's review.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sean Duffy here, along with the Administrator of Federal Motor Carriers. So what have we done at DOT and Federal Motor Carriers? Well, we've increased the penalties for those drivers that are not proficient in English. We'll do a background check on you to see what kind of person you are and whether you're qualified to actually get an American commercial driver's license. One individual can get 100 different DOT numbers. We want to make sure that the DOT number is connected to an actual individual. What's happened is many of these potential drivers would go to a commercial driving school, right? Well, Pete Buttigieg and the last administration decided there shouldn't be any rigorous requirements to certify that a school is well qualified to train drivers. He said the schools across America, they could actually self-certify.
Let's take the schools, you and this press conference, front and center tonight on Truckin' Headlines.
One of the arguments, the leading arguments posed here on this channel, is that one of the biggest weaknesses of any system is always enforcement. And one of the things I like to think is we can always make changes. We can touch on some of your thoughts in that area and in more areas. But for now, we're focusing on something that would ease the need for enforcement if only those in power would actually figure it out. Joining me in studio tonight is someone that thinks the answer is being overlooked. He's recently started a YouTube channel with the goal of reaching an audience of misinformed consumers looking for answers. He feels that more should be done to give everyday people like you and me a seat at the table. So let's give a warm Truckin' City salute and welcome to Instructor Steve, owner of the Broken System CDL or Broken CDL System YouTube channel. I'm just as bad at his intro as he is. So welcome to the show tonight, my friend. Good to have you on.
Yeah, the Broken CDL Truckin' System.
There you go. By the way, the link is in the description of this YouTube live show. So go ahead and check him out. Give him a subscription and definitely look him up. Anyway, how you doing tonight, Steve? Give us a little bit of a preview of what you are all about and what made you start your channel.
Okay. So I started my driving career at 1974. Went to live in Maryland. And at that time, we didn't have too many CDL schools in the area. So I went to Maryland. I went to Vineland, New Jersey, about 3-4 hours away. They put me up, kept me for about a month. And at that time, in 1970, we was going for chauffeur license. And I'm telling you, the training was excellent. To get the student ready for the training of the program was also as classroom and range and on the road was excellent at that time. We didn't have CDL entry-level driver training program. There was no CDLs. It's all, like I said, chauffeur license.
Right.
So that started it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was so good, I had to go back to Maryland to take my test. This is how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
So-and-so is going to meet you at the MVA or the licensing place to take your test.
Right.
I had no idea what it was. All I saw was a 28-foot pup, a day cab, and I never practiced in that.
Mm-hmm.
But the training was really, really good. I
Mm-hmm.
passed on the first day, passed the first
Great.
time.
Great.
As my career went on, I went to United Parcel Service. Spent about 30 years with United Parcel Service.
Wow.
And there is where I learned about safety.
Mm-hmm.
Safety, safety, safety. I learned the Smith system of safe driving.
Yes, a lot of people
time,
talk about that.
If I didn't know the 5 seeing habits, I would not be allowed to be on the road.
Amen
I had
to that.
to know it. Every driver had to know the 5 seeing habits.
Yep.
So the safety was drilled into me.
Yep. So what, out of everything you've just explained, what prompted you or made you think it was necessary to start the channel that is the broken CDL trucking system?
Okay. So my main channel is Trucker Steve, CDL Instructor. That's my channel, Trucker Steve, CDL Instructor.
Mm-hmm.
When I read and I do reply to every comment that comes in.
Right.
And I was seeing a big issue with the comments from a lot of the students.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were saying, your videos help me pass the test. I said, well, my video is supposed to be just kind of tips, not help you pass the test. But there's going more about the problems within the CDL schools across the United States.
Yeah.
And as I started looking at it and seeing what was going in the issues with the CDL schools in my own area,
right,
I said, you know what? And I start putting these issues on that channel. And I said, this is not fair to those students. And that's why I started the broken CDL trucking system, to put videos like yours on there and people about issues within the trucking company. And then I put my videos in about the issues of the broken CDL system, which I believe is broken, and it was broken to benefit certain people.
Right.
And so we're going to go back to about 2021 or 22, entry-level driving training program came in.
Right.
It was about a 5-6 year process because a lot of places didn't have the computer work set up. So they delayed.
Right.
So that came out around 2022. Finally got initiated, finally got in. And I thought it was a darn good program. What was the biggest problem? There was no minimum number of training on the range, no minimum hours of training on the road.
Right.
That set up CDL school mills. That's the only issue with the entry-level driver training. I thought it was an excellent. Before the ink was dry, out comes the modernization program. This was not done from the group that set up the entry-level driving training program. Very good group, professionals. The modernization testing program came in from people who run the testing facilities across the United States. They set that up.
Right.
Who did that benefit? Once again, who did it benefit? It didn't benefit really the student. It benefited the states who didn't have a big enough footprint to test CDL students for their testing.
Yeah.
As I started looking at that, I was constantly saying, you ordered, I'm accusing the FMCSA, who I support, but I'm saying you water down the system.
Yep.
Alley docking, gone. No alley docking.
Yeah.
No true parallel parking. And if you look at my YouTube channel, the Broken CDL Trucking System, you'll see a lot of videos and a diagram. You'll see what was and you'll see what's now.
Right.
The loopholes was
Well,
created FMCSA.
yeah, I was going to say, I've got quite a few questions that probably deal partly with that. So we'll get into some of that. I've got one other guest backstage, and I want to encourage anybody watching this show right now. If you have direct questions that you think need to be addressed, especially if you're working every day out there and you notice people making some really obvious and dumb mistakes, and all you got to do is watch Bonehead Truckers. You see them all the time. But if you've got a question that you think Steve can actually honestly answer that pertains to why it is we're not being trained, just like he was talking about a minute ago, what's missing in today's schools, what's missing in today's rules and regulations, put it in the comments. Let us know. We're starting conversations here tonight that hopefully last for a long time. Let's bring our other guest in and let's see if he's got a question for you. Welcome to the show, Thumper. Glad you could join us tonight. Glad you're part of the show as always. So, do you have anything to add to everything that Steve was talking about just a moment ago?
Not really. I mean, I know you asked one question, what's one thing that's missing in the schools? Well, I can answer one of them, common sense.
Well, that's true. How about the
That's
question
just-
on screen? What's your thoughts there? I mean, if you got, do you feel like when you were trained, when you got your license, were you fully prepared?
Really?
Hey,
you know my story boss, man. The story is my dad was, here's the keys.
Yeah, some
to
people
semi,
watching may not know.
Yeah, well, how I learned how to drive a semi was, here's the keys, there's the gas, there's the clutch, there's the brake, let it air up. This is what you put cattle in each compartment, off you go. Yep. So I pretty much taught myself, but
yeah.
Yeah. And I've been running I've been running livestock ever since. I mean, even up to still today. I mean, I have to call a friend of mine or whatever and get some advice when it comes to hauling hogs and stuff like that. But I mean, like, I know Steve there had said something about alley docking and parallel parking and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it seems like nowadays they're just giving CDLs to anybody who can drive, especially now that they got the automatics,
Yep. Well, I think part of that problem, I really, and I'm convinced of this, I think part of that problem is clearly the amount of different ways people are training today, and purely, and this is the point of my question, the amount of schools that are out there. According to the FMCSA's TPR, and Steve, you know what this is, the registry has shown tens of thousands of registered training locations nationally. And the FMCSA has recently actively been removing thousands of non-compliant entries in the last year. At one time, numbers exceeded 36,000 registered locations. And with Sean Duffy's recent aim at CDL mills being such a problem, let me ask you, Steve, do you think that number is, well, let me ask you this. Where do you think it is? Do you think there's still too many? Do you think there's not enough? What do you think?
I don't believe that many schools, active schools, was ever removed from the FMCSA trainer provider registry.
Well, they recently said 550. I think that's a falsified number. So I tend to agree with you.
Now here's what it is. It comes out and people put on newscast TV stations. 500 CDL schools are shut down. No, that's not true. 500 trainer providers might have been shut down. Half of them were probably inactive or didn't do paperwork, and they will be put back on once they fix their own little issues.
Right.
So what it is throughout the years, thousands and thousands of providers were on the registry, no longer participating, and they just stayed there. It's a cleanup. They cleaned it up. Yes, there were CDL schools shut down, but not as many as people think. It's just not true. Now, I wish the FMCSA would go around and list these schools, because if you look at it, I went through all 500, and half of them were bus companies, maybe someone doing training, providing entry-level theory classes online, trucking companies who were on the provider registry who no longer was active.
Yeah.
So there's more to it. It's misleading. But really, truthfully, the FMCSA works it right. We removed training providers from the registry, and everyone else was down. No, it was CDL schools, and FMCSA never said that. So FMCSA's not lying. It's
what you covered, actually. I may have missed it, but the federal system, it tracks these training programs. The TPR, as you say, includes many types, as you just mentioned. You've got motor carriers, you've got government associated, you've got school districts, you've got carrier related, so
you've got single person, one person.
Right. So which one of those does your school that you currently run, which one does yours fall under, and which one do you see as being most problematic?
Yeah, the one I worked with, I'm retired now. It was a CDL, private CDL school. They had about 3 or 4 schools. So that's what I worked with.
Right.
And I also worked with 160 Driving Academy for a little bit. And also when I lived at in Eastern Maryland, I worked at a community college for a little while in outside Salisbury. So I like the community colleges anyway. Anyone who wants to go to a CDL school, I always usually refer to a community college. But
which one do you see as being most? Which one do you see as being most problematic? Which one do you think that Sean Duffy and Derek Bars are most interested in going after?
Steve Gold went to him. I think he had a seat at the table, and he was looking at what he called CDL school mills that was not an accredited CDL school. He was going after them. The self-certified school, he was talking to the FMCSA about that. Right. I really don't know. I mean, I would do audits of CDL schools. That's what they need to do, a proper audit, have some good watchdogs go out there and double check on these schools to make sure they're doing what's right. But once again, I put the blame on the FMCSA. They created CDL school mills because they don't have any. Oh, you're not giving enough hours. Well, sir, from the FMCSA, there's no minimum hours that I have to put a driver on the road. There's no minimum hours that the student needs to be tested on the range. I can test the student in 5 days. Now, word what the FMCSA says throughout their entry-level driver training program, you cannot put someone up for a test unless they are proficient in all skills. Okay, the student finishes the course. School will go on the FMCSA website, and submit that student for its test. You have to go to the FMCSA first. The word proficient does not appear on that form. Does not appear. Half the stuff is falsified by a lot of schools. So
when he talks about falsifying. When you talk about falsifying things, I got a couple of things we're going to bring up here shortly. We're going to touch on that in just a minute. Thumper, when you were trained, did you go through a school or did you have somebody just walk you through it old school fashion?
Old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my CDL. I mean, you got to sit and think. When they start requiring the schools, that was what?
Early 90s, I think, wasn't it?
The schools? No.
I don't know. I trained after 2011, 2012 in that area. So I don't know. The schools were already a thing before I started.
Yeah, but they didn't make it a requirement until I want to say like 2013, 2014 is when they required that you had to go to school to take the test before, because I got mine when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
I couldn't leave my home state, but I got my CDL when I was 18, which all I had to do was study in the book, go take a test, and then find a truck
Everybody,
that would pass the walk around, an old farm
yeah.
truck. And
Everybody thought the brainiac idea was to pull the power from the states and make it a federal, and that's what brought the ELDT system into play. But no, the reason I asked is because when it comes down to it, you're out on the road frequently, just like I am. Steve, you're retired, so you might not be able to relate to this as much, but to anybody watching, if you're on the road, you can almost look at someone and spot whether or not they are adequately trained. That's the premise of the question. I mean, nowadays, it's like every other truck you see on the road. You can see them making mistakes, doing things wrong, doing things with poor judgment. It's almost like it's every other truck.
Well,
Wouldn't you agree?
going in a straight line down interstate, and I'm sure you guys could attest to this. Just like when I pass a truck and I look over, you could definitely tell the ones that just got out of school because they got their seats all the way aired up, so they're like touching the ceiling, and both hands are on the steering wheel, and they're just glued straight out the windshield. It's like,
or they're like this, they're hanging back,
No, yeah, you got to relax, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You could definitely tell the ones that just got trained in because they're so tensed up. They're worried about stuff, and that's when accidents happen. You got to be relaxed when you hire these or when you drive these big machines.
It's confidence. It's having the confidence necessary to know that you're well trained and you know what you're doing. So what I found interesting is not long ago, there was videos from a popular news outlet in Canada. Poet, if you're in there, you can probably relate. BBC put out an article about a highly publicized fraud scheme involving schools, essentially only working in name only. I think we can all relate to this, up in the Canadian trucking system. Steve, what do you think about the penalties and what they should be for people that run those kind of operations?
Send them in jail, put them in jail, put them in jail.
Yeah.
I want to go back to this proficiency, go back to that statement, just wrap that up. So the school puts a student in and the word proficient is not in there. The student takes their test, hard can back up.
Okay.
When I went to FMCSA, which I was looking for Sean Duffy I'm looking for the words from the FMCSA to say, you know what, we need to hold ourselves accountable and fix some issues within the FMCSA. Fix the wording. Let's put the word proficient in there. So when the school sets up a student for testing, I want it clearly says on the form, this student is proficient in all skills, all range skills. This student is proficient in all road skills, and I want two people to sign that form. I want the director of the school to put his name on the line, and I want an instructor to put his name on the line. And if they lie, they can be maybe some fallbacks are going to fall back on that school. Also, I want the record. They go to the FMCSA. I want FMCSA to say those records will be handed to the student when he completed his schooling, and they submit the records to the FMCSA. The student also gets a copy.
Yes.
And FMCSA can go around here and empower the students and have some kind of guidance or guidelines how students can protect themselves if they receive poor quality CDL training.
Yeah. We've already seen several cases where federal prison time has been issued for CDL related fraud schemes. School owners bribing DMV staff, third-party examiners falsifying skills tests, schemes altering test scores, and so on and so forth. So the question is, do we treat this like a paperwork problem, or do we begin to look at it more severely like a public safety threat? Now, you've got issues like, let me just set the stage. Issues like in Massachusetts, a driving school manager was involved in a state police write-out, just license fraud. What it was the driving school manager was tied to a wider license fraud scandal, pleaded guilty, and it's unknown how much time in jail he served. But we go on another case, San Antonio, Texas. They busted a state licensing scheme where a state employee was busted on bribery and fraud. And in that, he was sentenced to 24 months in federal prison. In Chicago, Illinois, Operation Safe Roads uncovered a test cheating ring. A truck driving school instructor was involved in helping unqualified applicants pass tests linked to the exam process with a bribery scheme. The outcome of that resulted in a 30-month prison term. So again, are we being tough enough? I mean, think about it. I put out a video maybe at the beginning of the week talking about deterrence. Deterrence, I think, is the single biggest missing piece in anything fraud related. So are we being tough enough dealing with these people that purely see money in doing wrong, essentially ruining our industry? What do you think, Steve?
Most of them have been put in jail. Most of them police officers got caught. So that's all over the YouTube and internet everywhere. So a lot of them have been caught. I mean, I don't know why they would do it. It's so easy to catch, especially with videos at DMV sites. So yeah, jail time for all of them. You know, I want CDL schools to be held accountable too. I'm not saying they have to go to jail, but I like to see CDL students empowered to fight back. They're scared to do it, but they don't realize the power that they have. CDL schools are scared of these students. When they start speaking up, the CDL schools start shaking.
Yep.
And FMCSA needs to give them guidance and get them some little bit of power. You know, like I said, I want the records given to the students. They have a paper saying, if you want to see your records, come to the FMCSA website and you can download your records. I don't want that no more. Give it to the school, give it to them. So the student look at it and they say, wait a minute, you said I had 20 some hours on the road. I kept records. I documented everything, and I only had 8 hours on the road. They can fight back.
Yeah.
They have to do their homework. If they don't document anything and they just go and have a good time at the CDL school, you're not going to go anywhere.
One of the things I think a lot of people are afraid of doing when it comes to speaking out is they're afraid of creating trouble. You know, I mean, think about it. I mean, Thumper, you can attest to this. If you're the new guy and you don't know any different, I mean, you started someday, somewhere. You know, you're afraid of upsetting the apple cart. You're afraid of putting yourself in a place where, well, maybe the boss don't like me, or maybe, you know, and one of our other guests joined us, I'm sure he'd have a lot to say. Grumpy, don't know where you're at, but you know, sometimes you're afraid of upsetting the apple cart. Can you relate? I mean, give me something.
I don't care. I don't care if people get mad at me or anything. If I feel unsafe on doing something, I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to speak my mind.
Well, yeah.
You know, because I mean, it's like,
that's a lot different though when you've got 10, 15 years behind you. But if you've only got like a year in,
well, no, and that's,
you've just come out of Steve's course, you might not have that confidence. You know,
well, I guess I have a different mindset than everybody else. You know, I mean, if I feel like I'm putting myself in danger, that means I'm putting everybody else in danger. So, you know, at that point, me personally, and that's just the way I was raised, was that, you know, if you feel that way, ask questions.
Yep.
Again, you know, a lot of it goes to how you were raised nowadays too. You know, if you were, this is going to sound really mean and I don't really care, but if you grew up as
when did that ever stop you?
Yeah, if you grew up as a snot-nosed kid who got whatever he wanted, safety doesn't matter to you. Yeah. You know, and like sitting here listening to you guys, and I got to bring up this story. because there was a friend of mine got into an accident, and he actually showed me the dash cam footage. I see if I could try to get it. But he was in Nebraska, and they're doing road work over by Lincoln right now. So it's the K rail, and then it's 2-lane,
Right.
So anyways, my buddy, really nice W900 truck. He's going down the road. He's in the lane he's supposed to be. And some guy who doesn't speak English that well passed him and then turned right in front of him and hit him. His trailer hit him, which pushed him into the K rail, and it literally totaled up the truck. Long story short, it totaled up this truck. But that guy just kept on driving down the road, and about 10-15 miles, the cops finally caught up to him, and the guy goes, I hit nobody. He couldn't speak English that well. He goes, I hit nobody. Like, he swore up and down that he hit nobody. Well, that just tells me that he didn't care, but you could see clearly on the side of the trailer the paint marks of the truck that he hit, But, he didn't have a valid CDL license that was given to him from a school that had no right in giving out CDLs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the world we live in nowadays. And
unfortunately,
I hate to say it, but we're not going to get ahead of it.
No.
You shot one down, 2 more are going to pop up.
Happens every time, too.
It does.
There are a lot of people that say there are too many people in this industry. And you've heard it said from a lot of the industry reps, like Sean O'Brien, Chris Spears, Todd Spencer. They say that the trucker shortage was a myth. Some do, some don't. And that there needs to be some serious changes to the way we're brought to trucking. Now, I say that loosely because, well, Steve, you're an integral part of all this. So let me ask you, do you think the same could be said for the 36,000 schools listed? We've already said you thought that number was slightly inflated. But the reason I asked the question is because, honestly, if we're at a place where we think we have too many drivers, I would think it would be fair to say we're probably at the same place with the amount of trucking schools that we have nowadays. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we got trucking schools are all over the place. And these little small outfits coming in are maybe destroying the good CDL schools, undercutting them, just like the drivers out there. We talk about these illegal drivers undercutting the truckers in their pay. And here goes the same thing. And also, I'm looking at this picture of this truck that you just have on your screen there, that little small pup. I'm going to get to that. But yeah, these small schools are undercutting the good schools, maybe putting some of them out of business. So in that video, when you have a little picture, you had a small truck. Now, I have a Facebook site, CDL Student Training Tips. I have 4 or 5 great administrators. One, Stan Thornton. And he and I both probably agree. And I was looking at the picture on your screen. This one, there goes the truck. And I think it's a 28-foot pup. CDL school, there it is. There it is.
Yep.
That is not industry standard equipment. So CDL schools, when they put the modernization testing program in, before it was a true parallel part. So it was the size of the bumper to the front bumper and plus 15 feet. Now the size stays the same. So don't put a truck like that in there and have the students drive around and do the test in that little pup, 28-foot pup. And then when they go out and get their first job, they in trouble because they overwhelm and say, my goodness, I never drove a sleeper. I never drove a 53-foot trailer. It's not the FMCSA allowing non-industry standard equipment to be used as CDL schools. It's not doing the students any favors.
So it's not only modernization of testing standards, but it should be also modernization of equipment. So
yes. And also one other thing. There's tractors out there that are synchronized tractors. It's like a car. So you can clutch and go to gear, clutch and go to gear. It's not double clutching. You can fake it. And then they get the manual license on their license, get the manual, but really they're driving a synchronized transmission tractor, little single axle trailer. It's just a small thing. You can find them. And that's kind of like cheating the system.
Yep.
So Steve, you'll actually get a kick out of this. I took my CDL test in a 96 379 Pete with a flat top sleeper, 300-inch wheelbase with a cattle pot behind it. That's what I took my CDL test in, because that's all we had at the time. That would pass inspection, but But no, you're right. These people get put into these. I had a good friend of mine just go through a school in Minnesota, which he said they did a really good job. But he was in international, like, what do they call that? Pro Star with a manual transmission, but he had a 45-foot hopper bottom behind him, is what they used. So, but it was a sleeper truck and all that too. So I mean, it all depends on the school you go to too.
Yeah. So there's a school in Kansas, Apex Truckin Institute. They changed the name because they have more programs within the school now. And Jeff is the owner, and he did some videos, and he teaches to a higher standard. There are good CDL schools out there. So I don't want to go around here and say, oh, they all bad. There's a lot of very good CDL schools like the Apex Truckin Institute in Kansas, and even some other areas. But the FMCSA enabled CDL schools to teach poor quality. I mean, they can't. I mean, basically, they teach you to test.
Yep.
And there's so many more issues with this that they need to talk about. They don't look in your own backyard and what they enable CDL schools to do. So I'm putting more to blame on the FMCSA, and we don't hear that. Maybe
they're behind. Yeah, and they're kind of a little bit behind at time. We're going to get to some of those questions too a little bit coming up, because I've got a lot of questions and a lot of material for tonight. So bear in mind. Let me catch the audience up for those watching either live right now or on the replay. What we're talking about is CDL schools. Some of the issues that have come up as a result of a recent press conference with Sean Duffy and Derek Bars, talking about what I consider to be real accountability to begin to heal trucking, changes they've made, schools they've closed, and changes to the policies around CDL schools. Steve, let me ask you, what are your thoughts about what I would want to call a great reset? I've mentioned this in the past, but I've said it more directly with how we handle the licensing system, but I think it more or less should also apply to this, because what do you do before you get your license? You go through training, which is something that's sorely needed in this country, especially in trucking and other industries too. But if you think about it, a great reset is probably a good way to start. And that is make everyone in the profession prove they have the stones to do what they do. Now, if you had to go today and actually have to prove to the FMCSA that you're capable of running a school, would you be confident enough to have no problem with that?
I have no problem with that.
And what do you think about everybody else doing the same?
Yeah, do it. Yep. So at our school, we had 2 ranges, 2 different range. Each one had about 25 students.
I'll be back. I gotta.
All right, man.
Yeah. So I ran one range.
Right.
And there's another range. I did everything that the director did not want.
Right.
And one day I asked him, I said, I'm doing alley docking. I'm doing all this other stuff. How come you're not yelling at me, but you're yelling at the other range down the road? He said, Steve, you're doing everything. You well organized, and you're doing what is right for the students. I'm backing off. I might not agree with what you're doing, but I I came in as an instructor, but also came in. I have a degree, a college
Yeah.
degree. I went to college and also worked for a county in Maryland. So I
Yeah.
have a degree of knowledge about how to run a program. So this is in my
Yeah.
backyard, and I enjoy doing it. In my
Got a
education,
commenter leaving something out there. He says he got his Cap. I'm lousy with names. Forgive me. I'm just going to call you Cap. Cap says, I got my CDL in 2019. Didn't feel prepared or safe. Just went looking for a mentor I could call whenever I needed help. Steve mentions that on his channel about the broken CDL truck system. Mentors are something I've talked about at a great deal. What do you got to say about that, Steve? You want to answer to that?
yeah, there should be mentors within the industry.
Mhm.
So when I did even CDL schools, I mean, it was difficult. They had my phone number. So when they went
Right.
on the road, I said, "You got an issue? Call me. I'll help you
Yep.
out." Now, when I stopped in doing CDL instructing, I went back to the company that I was working for, so we like just shuttle driving, yard jockeying, and I
Right.
had some of the students from the school coming back to my place of work on the weekend, and I was letting them do some alley docking, some backing skills, etc.
Right.
And that was fun. Everybody said, "What's Steve doing out there on the lot? He's supposed to be doing yard jogging," but I was mentoring. I said a lot of them have my phone numbers, or I feel I'm a mentor on the YouTube channel. I
Yeah.
answer everything. Whoever would send me a question, I do my best to answer it. So I
Yep.
try, in a way, I'm mentoring. You're mentoring. It's
Yep.
needed, maybe for a year or whatever. And when you get out of job, these drivers, new inexperienced drivers, need a mentor. And also, FMCSA, when I kind of put something out there about inexperienced drivers, these that goes to these trucking companies, well, they need additional training. And they came back with, well, we give them the entry level driver training. That's good enough. And it's not. Schneider has a program, and also a couple other mega carriers train the inexperienced drivers. So when you go to Schneider, if you
Yeah.
experience, you go to one class. If you're
Yep.
inexperienced, you go to another class.
There you
Every
go.
trucking company should have that,
Yep.
because we already know CDL schools do not teach you how to drive.
Yeah.
And these,
Just so you
these
just so everybody's aware. I mean, we're talking about a lot of technical terms, a lot of stuff tonight.
wait, sorry.
I can relate to everything you're talking about, Steve, because let me tell you something. I started in 2012, and I went through a winter program, and I went through a community college, and it was a very thorough program. In the state of New York, they required 150 hours. They required, out of that, 75 hours of theory, 75 hours over the road. So that, I don't know how much has changed because of ELDT that's been implemented since, but I feel very confident about what I had. So to get to the commenter's question or comment a minute ago, I didn't feel like when I graduated I needed a mentor, but it was nice to know that there were people out there willing to talk to me about whatever questions I had. So didn't mean to cut you off, Steve.
Yep, gotta have mentors.
Yep.
So important.
Yep.
So important.
Yep.
So
How do you feel?
and
How do you feel about? And I'm trying to move it along and keep everybody included. How do you feel in general about third-party testers? Do you think in general that they're needed, or you think we need to work them out of the system entirely? Because that was one of the things that Derek and Sean both pointed out in that in that press conference, and I see that as a weakness. What do you think?
it's a positive. So I'm a
And why is that?
third party state tester.
Mhm.
Okay. So I want a
Right.
video. I talked about that. Like in
Mhm.
Florida, just about every program down there is run by third party testing, or
Mhm.
doing the third party testing. I believe, I could be wrong. But if
Right.
you remove the third party testers, state testers, the backup will be huge. So when I worked
Right.
when I left the school I worked for, we had third party testing. Then I
Right.
went to 160 Driving Academy.
Mhm.
Those students, we didn't have third-party testers, so I had to take the students to one state testing site. If they failed, the next opening could have been weeks away, and then they went to somewhere else, another far, and they failed again because they is all over the place. No, a
Right.
third-party tester, they are trained and they also audited by the state. And on the
Right.
video, I said, if I would screw up, I'll have handcuffs put on me if I would cheat, because I never know if a state.
Yeah, I remember you said that in your video, the one you did. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's why I put that question in, because I figured that would prompt you. Yeah, that would get you interested.
And the state, the third party testers in many cases are more stricter than the state testers.
Yep.
We have to be more stricter. You know, at the school, we have our own pre-trip, and sometimes we're going to look for more questions that from the students than what the state's going to look at. So I had a
Now
student.
let me query you on this. I mean, likewise, we were talking about the CDL schools. Do you think that, according to a database that I've looked up, do you think that the over 3,000 third-party testers that currently exist need to be narrowed down a little bit?
No.
You thought that 36 number was high. Now, you know, I don't know.
I have no idea. You know, if they are trained right, a third party tester. So I can't test a student that I train. So if I train you, I cannot test you. And I don't want to test a student that I train. Don't want to have no parts of that.
Yeah.
So if audits are done properly, the CDL schools need to be audited, testers need to be audited. They have to be. And if they are trained right, and let's say I had mentors as a tester. So when I first started out, I needed a mentor, which I had. I had two very good people at the school, at North American Trade School, who helped me out. When I was screwing up, they helped me out. You know, mistakes to be made. But I had mentors, and every third-party tester at our school was good. They were good. Once in a while, we had a bad apple or someone not that good. He wasn't doing fraud. He just wasn't as good. And then we was asked. They said, "Guess what? I think it's time for you to hang it up." And, you know, or state did it, or the school. I think the school did it themselves. They said, "Nah, I think it's not going to work for you." But third-party tester, if you take them away, it'll be chaos within the school CDL school system. Students. Yeah. In fact, you know, if I had to go to a CDL school, I would be asking. I said, "Are you a third-party test site? If you are, you're going to be top of my list to go to that particular school, because when it comes test time, I will get a slot. If I go to another school, I could be all over the place waiting for weeks and weeks before I get a chance to get in if there's a backlog. They can't handle it.
No.
Just like FMCSA can't handle all the audits probably. They can't handle it.
Yep.
Most of
Let me ask you, when you heard the press conference play at the start of my show, and you heard the words, "The work is just beginning," what was your first reaction from where you sit in the trucking industry? What was your first reaction? Did you have a tendency of believing that, or did you think that was just smoke?
No, I believe they're trying to do a whole lot. What I'm doing as a CDL trainer, instructor, and YouTuber, you know, looking at this, I'm looking. My main interest is the training of CDL students. I'm looking for keywords. Does he understand with the FMCSA, the weakness within the FMCSA to fix the issues within the CDL school? Now, it might be hard as anything to go backwards, to do a reset, to go back to 2022 or 2021 and go back to the old program. But there's ways to handle it. I would go around here and say, guess what? We want to follow the entry-level driver training program. okay, we're not going to have alley docking. They can put it back in and say, this student, even though he's not going to get tested on alley docking or 90-degree, 45-degree angle, you must train him how to do a backup. Backing is an acquired skill. You need to teach him, and you could also sign off in there that he is proficient in backing skills. Yep. Also, you would do dropping hooks, because I have a poll in my a Trucker Steve CDL instructor. 50% of them, most of them, the schools are not teaching them how to do a dropping hook. They're not teaching them how to do any kind of alley docking. Yeah. But I also want to note before I get off this, in Maryland,
we're not quitting. We're not quitting right this second. We got a few more minutes yet. We got more time. Right. Unless you got to go, I'm not going to hold you.
Yeah. No, I'm rolling. Anyway, before the modernization testing program came in Maryland, we was under the standard program, but Maryland did not have alley docking. That's where the people at the school where I was working was looking at there. What Steve's doing? I was having them alley dock. When I was in Eastern Shore, I looked for a company. I found a company because they wouldn't let us do alley docking. So I found a company. When I take them out on the road in the Eastern Shore, I had permission from a company that was vacant. Can I use your docks? Yeah, you can use your docks. I cleaned up their lot, and I was having them alley dock at their facility. When I was in Maryland, where I finished up my CDL instruction career, I worked for Mohawk Industries. So I would take my students to where I worked, and also at Random House where I worked, and I'll have them alley dock there at real live dock. It was amazing how some of the students who were good at doing a reverse offset, as soon as I took them to a live dock, they went back up. Some of them did, some of them couldn't do it. They just got over. What's this? So, but
everybody
and beyond.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody's got their skill. Everybody's good at things. Some people are better at other things. So, I mean, everybody's different. I mean, let me get your opinion here, Thumper. And while we're at it, anybody watching us now on the replay, if you think more needs to be done, let us know. Tell us in the comments, either now or before, now or after. But when you heard the work is just beginning, Thumper, I mean, what's your thought about what they're trying to do to reset the industry? What thoughts went through your mind?
I'll believe it when it actually happens.
Really? So it's more of the same in your mind?
Well, they keep promising us all this other stuff. I mean, when are we going to get that? Just recently I heard that I heard two other things. I don't know if they're true or not. I've heard of them. They're getting rid of the ELDs, which I don't see that happening.
What they're proposing is they're eliminating a lot of the ELDs that are fraudulent or able to be accessed to a back door. So, I mean, they're not really going after all of them, but there are falsified posts on social media that say they're wanting to go back to paper. That's never going to happen. Just not.
No.
Don't even put your Calci account on it, because you'll lose money.
And the other thing that I've heard, and this is more on the livestock side, is when you're under a load, not this ain't in effect, so people can't be, oh, I heard this on the internet. No, this has not passed yet.
Yeah.
But they're saying when you're under a load, you have no clock. You are egg exempt the entire load, but as soon as you're off load, you got to run a normal clock.
I was going to say, you found out the hard way that that's BS anyway.
To a point. The way I ran it that one time, I thought it was something different, but like I said, figured it all out, and I really wasn't in the wrong at the time, because I was only going like a mile down the road, but to a safe parking spot. But no, I mean, that's just some stuff that I've heard. I've heard of it. Is it true? I don't know. I'll believe it when it actually happens. Just like they're going to say they're cracking down on all these schools and everything. Okay, you guys been saying that for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. I'll believe it when it happens.
I'll believe it when I see it. Exactly.
So
There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk recently about all the CDL mills going on. You know, not to change subject the news dumper, but from someone who trains drivers, Steve, what separates in your mind and in your experience a quality program from one that just simply puts through the numbers and does none of the work you do? What separates them?
Good quality instructors, a well-planned program. Yes, Mr. Duffy wants a curriculum that's written. I'm not saying you have to follow it, but there should be, when the student comes in, here's your contract, and this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to give you during this period. That's a good program.
Right.
I would go around there, and if I was a student, I want to visit that school. I want to talk to students. If the lunch break is at 12 o'clock and everyone's leaving at 11:30 or 11:20, that's a red flag, and that's an issue. That's not a good quality school.
Right.
If the school is getting you in and out, someone wanted to get on my Facebook site, and the person sounded pretty good. And then I find out it's a 5 days, 4 days, and the fifth day you test out. I said, no, you're not coming on my Facebook site.
Right.
It might be a great instructor. I said, no, that's out of line.
Mm-hmm.
Can students be tested and trained in 2 weeks? If it's one-on-one training, I think Trucker Certified in Texas, he kind of put that out for me. And one-on-one training, that's great. That separates a good school from a bad school.
That one school that I was talking about earlier, and sorry I had to disappear. It was bedtime for the kids, so I had to.
No, you're good,
say
man.
goodnight
You're good.
and all that stuff.
You're good.
But
You're good.
that one school that I was telling you about in Minnesota, that's Minnesota West is what it's called, community college.
Yep.
And they do 101s and stuff. And when my buddy did that course, the instructor, after the first day, the instructor goes, well, you've been driving for a while, haven't you? He goes, yeah, on the farm. You know, he's been on a farm, never had a CDL, but he wanted his CDL. So, you know, he had to go through the school to get a CDL. And I think once a week, he did it for four weeks. Once a week, went out and drove, and then sat in the classroom, which they did 2 sessions of 8 hours of going over like e-logs, hazmat, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, he drove for once a week for like 2-3 hours because he already knew how to drive. So he didn't really need to go through that whole school, which at that point, you know, how is it fair to a person of, say, us three, say for some reason we get our CDL taken away, you know, like a health issue or something like that. And okay, so now when we go get our CDL back, we have to go through that school now. I don't think that's fair. I know I'm bringing up another subject here that probably shouldn't be brought up, but I've heard of people who've had their CDLs for years, and then they either let it go,
have to get retested.
Yeah, they either let it go or whatever, and then they decided, nope, I want my CDL back, and they
everybody,
go to get it.
Everybody's in a different circumstance, so you're not at fault for bringing it up. It's a valid concern, trust me.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
so
on 1 year. So
I was just going to ask Steve if you could comment on what you know about that circumstance he just brought up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I retired in June, and since I'm a full-time caregiver, I said there's no way I'm going to be able to get back on the road. Yes, I'll be 74 in about 9 weeks or so. I'll be 74 years old, and I'm I'm enjoying what I do as a caregiver. My wife took care of me when I was on the road. Anyway, so when I gave up my license, I said, nah, I'm not going to renew it because I know what my situation is going to be for the next year, 2 years, whatever. And you have 1 year. They said, Steve, you have 1 year. You gave it up at this date, and 1 year from this date, you can pay $39 and you got your license back. If I wait after that 1 year period, yes, I have to go back, and go through it all over again because it's all gone.
Yep.
But
But I
how
got
is that
they
fair?
give me that 1 year.
But how
Yep.
is that fair? Like
Yeah.
say I'm not trying to be mean. I'm a lot younger than you are. Um but say I'm in the same situation as you. Say my significant other gets sick and I got to take care of them for more than a year, and let's say they get better or worse, however you want to take it. Well, I can go back out on the road and it's been 4 or 5 years. Now I got to sit there and pay $4 to $6 to $7,000 to go to
No,
a school.
no. So
No, it shouldn't be that much
you
money.
kept that
I'm sure it's a
license,
lot
I'm
less.
sure.
Yeah.
You kept the license. You didn't give
Well,
it
no,
up. I gave it
say
up.
you let it go because you think it's
There's
you
no
I
way.
want to
No way.
say refresher courses have got to be a lot less
That's
expensive
it.
than that.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. So
Yeah.
our classes at the school I taught at was Monday through Thursday. So on Friday, if someone like you need it, you cannot. The company's not going to hire you until you come to me, and I have to take you through a refresher course. Yes, the
Right.
company probably pay for it, or you'll pay a little bit, and I would go around here certify that you are okay to drive to go back to work. So that's what that's a refresher course. Because someone, if you have some space in between, you haven't been driven, the company most likely, unless they know you, the company's going to send you to a CDL school for a refresher course. And I have done many of them. And some of them they just sent me to because they said the guy can't back up. Can you work with him for 2 or 3 days and teach him how to back up? And I did that. It's just refreshing. What they didn't get at CDL school. And I wish a lot more CDL schools would do that. Advanced CDL training at some of these schools. That would be nice. Where they can send you to you got your license and advanced courses to continue their training.
Minute, guys. Let me refresh people. If you're just joining us or have been with us for a little while, we're talking about CDL schools. We're talking about the implications based on conferences held by Sean Duffy and Derek Bars earlier last week or last month. I don't recall exactly when it was, but the videos went up last week on my channel. If you are in doubt or have questions about the recent policies put in by them, give us a call here, 860-785-3547. The last half of the show, we are opening the studio lines. You're welcome to call in. We are certainly game for discussion. 860-785-3547. Steve Snyder here with us with the broken CDL system. We got Thumper. We have you there in the audience. OG, glad you could join us. Listen, Steve, when it comes down to it, do you think that this actual credential system itself has lost meaning? Over the years, we've talked about a lot of different ways in which training has been adjusted, shifted. And there's a lot of drivers out there. I'm sure a lot of us older guys, Thumper, you're probably one of them. We feel like the actual art of having a CDL today does not mean the same as it used to mean. What do you think?
I don't think it does. I mean,
No?
I know what I went through. And now, because of the driver shortage,
You got about another 20 minutes before we end.
Politicians got in it.
Just in case you're doing that.
Politicians got in, and we have to get these students in and out of CDL school. We in a desperate situation because we don't have drivers, and they messed the whole thing up. Politicians, ATA, whatever, messed it up. So I don't think it's the same. I don't think the quality is the same. And that really upsets me, when I see that. And also, I want to do one more thing before I forget.
Yep.
We have a lot on the provider registry. We have a lot of entry-level driver training theory instructors.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see a lot of them are very, very good.
Right.
But if I can't speak English, I would go down and get my entry-level part of the entry-level, what I need to do. You got to get entry-level theory, then you got the range, and then you got the road. You take your test.
It's like you're sitting here watching my question list. Are you focused on what I'm about to ask you next, or what?
No, I don't know. Anyway, so I do the theory. I'm not good in the classroom. So
right,
you can do the theory online. And a lot of CDL schools will say, hey, just go down online and take the theory part. So I cannot pass it. And I go, hey, boss man, I need your help. I'm busy. Can you come over to my house and sit on the computer and take this theory? Now, if you look at these online theory courses, it says you could do it in one day. At school, we take 2 weeks to do this. You could pass in one day. Yeah, because someone called the boss man and had him come down there and do the test. And then he submitted to the FMCSA and he gets credit. And now he's got that part done. He scored 80% or more on all the tests. And now he's ready to go on the range. And then more issues come up. They need to either, if you want to do online theory training, do it at the CDL schools, not at someone's house where you can get your buddy down the street to do it for you.
Yep.
So
you'll have to pardon me, Steve. I got to give Bo his moment in the sun. So
there you go.
He's definitely part of the show, and he's welcome every time we do a show. We got to give him his moment to shine.
Call my wife and tell her to bring back my Yorkies. I mean my Chihuahuas down.
There you go. Anyway, I got a few more questions, so make sure you hang out for a little while. And hey, look, when it comes down to it, enforcement, uneven, good. What do you think in terms of the non-domiciled CDLs, or do you think we've still got a lot of time to figure it out? What's your thoughts, Steve?
I think they in the right direction. They're doing the best they can. They're doing it. If you look on my site, I'm more concerned about the DACA CDL drivers. And I understand what the issue is about vetting them. A lot of illegals were falsifying.
That was my next question. What your concerns were around vetting and background, to make sure you could actually train somebody in that position. Yeah. So elaborate. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the DACA students has been a big concern of mine. I talk a lot about it. I don't think it's that hard for the FMCSA either put them on the clearinghouse list, find a way. This guy who filed the lawsuit, which is in court and have a stay on these illegal immigrants being put out, he filed it because you rushed this through, and then you have this DACA person came in the U.S. at 2 years old. This is way back when, and he's been driving for years. He owns a trucking company. He has trucks,
right?
And now his license, or he can't get his license renewed. He got it one time, and then then we're not going to renew it. That's an issue that needs to be fixed. I think it can be fixed, but it's not fair to people who came in. No one's going to send them back. Maybe the parents can go back, but people 15 years and younger who came to the United States live here for a long time. All they know is U.S. All they know is how to speak English. I mean, I'm sure they probably can speak their native tongue if someone taught them. But so good people get hurt by some of the enforcement when you push it through and you rush it through. You got to think it through. Now you got a lawsuit, and it could drag on until a new administration comes in, and then it's all thrown out. We're right back to where we started from square one. So
what do you think is harder?
I think they're doing a good job. I think.
Yeah. What do you think is harder? I'm going to have you put your scruples hat on for just a minute. Now, I've got a few more questions. If you got questions in the comments, let me know. If you're watching, if you're really curious about life as an instructor, let us know your questions. What do you think is harder, becoming a qualified instructor or becoming a properly trained driver? These days, which do you think is harder to do?
Probably becoming a quality trained driver is probably harder. In some states, the instructor must be certified.
Right.
And when I start reading that, I said, you got to be certified. And I say, oh, I'm in trouble because in Maryland, I am not certified by the state. Not certified. And the school did poor training, when it came to be instructors. But naturally, I had a background in it and also a UPS background. So, that's where I made out pretty good. And that's where a lot of CDL schools fall apart who don't train their instructors. I know the driving academy in Linden, New Jersey or New York. I think it's New York, New Jersey. I think it's New Jersey. They advertise that they train all their instructors. That's good. Right. But a lot of places, even if they say it, they're not training their instructors, and that is a downfall. A good CDL driver who drove for years could be a lousy instructor. Instructor. Now you have to have, I think, 2 years experience on the road with a license, a Class A license, to be an instructor. I had an instructor before this came in, the rule came in, we were still in the standard testing, and I had him for 2 weeks. He was a fire chief, deputy fire chief, and he was ready to retire. He wanted to get a Class A license. I worked his tail off. So I trained a lot of police officers and I trained a lot of firefighters. And I worked them. Hard in 2 weeks. This one was an instructor teaching the firefighters how to drive and take them to get their license.
Right.
And this guy knew how to teach. And I went to the school. I said, I want him as one of our instructors. Can't do it now, but he wound up being one of the best instructors we had. He didn't have the experience driving tractor trailer, but I said he can teach it. He can teach these students. He knows how to communicate. He knows how to teach. And where some guys who've been driving for years, they get impatient and they have no idea how to train and teach a student. All they can do is just stand, yell and scream and cuss at them. And
we're winding down to the tail end of the show. If you guys still want to get a call in and ask Steve any questions on your mind, 860-785-3547. Comment in the chat or leave us something. We can certainly bring it up to him before we leave. Let me ask you a question. And this really is what intrigued me with a couple and actually 2 of the videos that I watched on your channel, Steve. If you had a seat at the table with a direct link with Derek Bars at the FMCSA, what would be the one thing you would want to fix first? Above all else, what would be the one thing you would address?
Okay, I probably addressed it already. I think I said it already. Yeah, I would try, if I could, reverse the program back to standard training. If not, I would certify it in writing that these students, that they have to train the students in alley dock and all that. I need to get them to fix the number one thing, fix the wording. The wording, if you just fix that, when a student is set up for his testing, I want to hold the school and the instructor accountable. This student is proficient in all skills before he can.
I want you to get a little bit more in depth on that, because that throws me, and I'm usually pretty good at that. What do you mean by fix the wording? Be more specific about that.
The wording's not there. So the wording is in the entry-level driving training outline. I should have held it up. It has
just so the viewers understand what you mean. I'm just trying to clarify.
Okay. So all over the entry-level driving training, the steps to get your license, it says before a student can be tested, the instructor must certify this student is proficient in all skills, which FMCSA does not define what they mean by proficient. That wording needs to be in there. They got to add that.
Right.
And then, and also it's pretty clear about the road and the range, etc.
Right. Right.
But the wording I'm talking about is when the school sets a student up for their test. That wording, proficient, is not there. They need that. If you just add that wording in and make sure the director and instructor puts his name and holds them accountable, you're going to see a lot of students. Sorry, you're not going to get tested today.
I got one thing I want to task you on, simply because I've watched a lot of your videos and I came prepared. One of my videos, I made an effort to make my opinion known about the fact that I thought we needed to simply double the hours, because I didn't feel like today's ELDT training standards were enough. And there are too many people out here that are obviously unqualified. So I made a point in that video to make a point. And I noticed your take on it when I watched the video where you talked about it. I'm going to say two words to you. Defend yourself. Why do you think I'm wrong? And why do you think that's not the right course of action?
Oh, you got your hand up. No,
I'll give you a second, Thumper, but I want to hear Steve's take first.
I don't know what I said, but if
you slightly disagreed with me, because what I had said at that time on that particular live show was that I wanted to double the hours. So you took issue with that. So
yeah, I wish I knew what I said, but I don't think a 4 or 5 week program what they offer. Okay, it's fine. I don't know about doubling up. Some schools, technical college that have a certain accreditation, that's a longer program.
I said that what you were trying to explain at the time had to deal with cost, because, and I think I left a comment talking about it. Cost was an issue, I think, with your response and what you said on the video, because that I think you worded it from the term of being grant funded. You thought that it would kill the industry, and you thought it would stall everything. So my thinking, and the reason I brought the question up, because you brought up an interesting point. Cost in my terms, and I think I put in a reply that I put in your video, shouldn't be an issue, because time after time students pay for it. Grant helps, but students pay. So the end result is everybody needs to be properly trained. So
so try to get my thoughts back together again.
Take your time.
So here you go. So when they did the no minimum hours of road time and all this stuff, that was about time too. They felt it was going to be costly to the CDL schools. Oh man, we can't have 40, 50 hours or 20 hours of driving time. One state did put it in, California. They put a minimum of 15 hours behind the road training on a public road. That was because the senator or the congressman or a state senator in California, he was a part of the 20-member committee. All voted for the minimum hours of training on a public road except 2 people. And who won? The 2 people won. And he went back to California and said, this is awful. I said, I don't care about the time, the cost to the CDL schools or the students. We have to have, in California, they have a minimum number of hours on training on a public road. I think Kansas City, Montana also might have one. But everyone else, no. But it is costly. But I put on my site, even if it's costly, CDL students, if you want to go to CDL schools, you can get away without paying a dime. And I'm not talking about going to mega carriers. The government puts out grants. The government puts out millions of dollars to some CDL schools, mostly to colleges, community colleges. So you can get your CDL license for free, no cost. In Maryland, the one near where I live, you get the grant, you get a scholarship from a company who pays you while you in CDL school. They pay you maybe $200 a week to attend CDL school, and the students get shocked. They say, "What's this?" That's a check from the whoever was funding the scholarship, a private person. was paying. So there are ways to get your education for CDLs free.
Yep.
If you go to a mega carrier, be careful because you could be owned by that mega carrier. You go and
that's
quit,
the problem.
and you
That's
might
the
have to
problem
pay
there.
back.
I'm gonna give Thumper a chance to respond because I know I geared him up and I think I triggered him with that question. So
Well,
I got one more question for you, Steve. So don't go anywhere. But go ahead, Thumper.
Not necessarily triggered me, but I got put in my 5 cents, because Trump got rid of the Trump got rid of the penny, so you got to do 5 cents now. But
By all means, yeah.
But okay, so do I believe in more training? Yes, I do. I've always believed in that. But also at the same time, I really think you should stick them with a cattle hauler with some of the roads that we have to go down. I mean, that's where you're going to get a lot of your driving experience, some of the tight places, everything like that. Now, do I agree with Steve down there? Should they lengthen it? Yes, no. It's kind of up in the air, but at the same time, okay, well, let's put this into play. I got, I don't know how much it costs to go to a school. It could be $2,500, whatever the case is. I'm just throwing a number out there. Don't jump on me.
Yeah.
Say it costs $3,000 and it's gonna be 6 weeks a year time. Okay. Now Steve kind of just covered this a little bit. In Maryland, they have a college there where they pay you $200. Oh, you said a week?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, don't get me wrong, that's awesome. But can you live off of $200 a week? Food and all that other
No,
stuff. Like if you
they never
had rent
expected
or
a
whatever.
dime. Yeah, they never expected a dime. They were
Well,
shocked.
I know, but what
yeah.
I'm getting at is, unless you are getting paid, like even these mega carriers, they're paying you $700 every 2 weeks or a week or whatever it is for training. How does a guy live off of that? Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he's not living off of it. They
But
never
like
expected money.
but an average Joe like me, who, say I don't have my CDL, I've never had it. I go into school, I've been working a 9 to 5 job most of my life and be like, oh, I'm going to go drive truck now. When I go to school like this, well, say I don't get grants, whatever, just say you don't have any of that stuff there. How can you physically afford 6 weeks or more and live off of that and go to school if you don't get grants or whatever, anything like that? If you get grants, yes, that stuff helps pay for it. But that goes back to the whole thing. You got a family to feed. You got a roof over your head you got to pay for and other stuff like that. So, getting a CDL back then was cakewalk. You sat there, you studied in the book just like you do for a driver's license. And now you got to go through this whole course. Okay, well, Mr. Joe over there, he could have been a heck of a driver, but he can't afford to not go 6 weeks without a paycheck. Or say he gets $200, but he still can't support his family off of that, so he decides, no, I can't. I'm not going to get my CDL over that. But we got Mr. I'm trying to think of a polite way to put this. Mr. Joe from Australia or Bosnia or wherever, India, he comes over, does the schooling because the government pays for it, and he goes and wrecks a truck 2 weeks out of school and unalives a bunch of people.
Well,
that's the trend.
I think those days are about done with. I mean, as far as paying for the foreigners to come over here and kill people, I don't.
Well, but
I don't think that's.
You get what I'm saying. Someone who could have, someone who is a true American wants to do it but can't afford it because he's got a family to support and can't take that time off and say a mega carrier won't hire him for some reason. So I know people who have been in that situation where I know them from driving on a farm and they're really good drivers, but they can't afford to go to the school.
Right.
And there goes a really good talent that just went to waste because they can't afford to go to that school.
Yep.
Right. So most CDL students who go to a CDL school are paying $5,000, $6,000, $8,000. So the ones who know they go to a community college and get a grant they pay zero, no money.
Mm-hmm.
Where the majority of them are putting money out. It so happened that it's I don't know where do you have another person who has money, a foundation who has the money, and say, guess what? I see that you probably need some extra money to put in your pocket. I'm going to give you a little bit of allowance to help you out. He didn't have to do that.
Right.
Right.
Just out of his heart, he says, I'm going to give you some money to put in your pocket. If you attend CDL school, and as long as every week that you attend, I'm going to give you $200. I don't know who else does that. It just so happens this particular foundation decided, I'm going to help these students out. It's great.
Well,
I wish more would do it.
Yeah, I do too, but you understand what I'm getting at, though,
Yeah.
is there's a lot of talent out there that turned away from the industry because they can't afford to go to the school, because they have a family or something like that. And you know, don't get me wrong, you can make money in trucking if you know how to do it.
Exactly.
You know,
last question.
Mr. Bossman can vouch for this. From where I was at a year ago to where I'm at now, I'm literally living the dream.
Amen to that. You are indeed. Last question for you, Steve. What would you say to the average trucker who feels the industry standards have slipped? And on a few videos, I've kind of mentioned that. And if you follow any number of other truckers on YouTube, that's kind of a common mantra. So when you hear that, what would you say to them?
I'm out of that question.
So I hear it all the time. And I look at the comments. I read comments. They're so important. And don't get into truck. Truck is bad. You can lose your shirt and all this stuff. If you do your homework and do your research, you can find ways to get into trucking. Trucking is over the road, owner operators, local driving jobs, high skill fuel, delivering fuel.
Yep.
So if you do your homework, you can make it very successful and profitable for yourself. Also, have a side business. So I was talking to Boss Man. You see the shirts behind me, or some of the shirts I didn't have them. I made truck shirts for truck drivers. So I had another business. I had an exit plan too. So not only did I drive, I was making money while I was working. But naturally, somebody's going to say, well, Steve, you worked 30 years for United Parcel Service, so you don't count. But as a driver, there's backdoor ways to get in. If you're 18 years old and you get your license, you drive for a construction company that has trailers. They might not be tractor trailers, but they have trailers in the back. You work for that for 2 or 3 years, and you work the back door in. If you want to go to UPS, UPS is restructuring, and they build these mega hubs. So if you're in a state where, let's say Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where they built this huge mega hub, they need drivers. But everywhere else, they might be laying them off. Get into it as a delivery driver. Work there for 5 or 6 years. Get in the back door, and they will retrain you as long as you had your license. If you have an A, if not, they'll send you down to get the license. It's all paid for.
Right.
And you work the back door in, and you have a pension, and you'll be a million. If you work for UPS now, I guarantee just all those drivers are millionaires by the time they retire. They got a pension, they got stock, they got everything. Find backdoor ways. Trucking, if you do your homework and research, you can get in. Sometimes you have to use the back door. Find a company that has like food deliveries, if you're good enough for that. And once you get your 1 or 2 years in, you are a free agent. Once you get that 1 or 2 years in, you can go where the higher pay is, and that's local deliveries. They pay good money, but you have to pay your dues. But
and we're going to speak
and be patient.
and we're going to speak on skills and ways to overcome stuff just like that. And we're definitely going to have you back on for future shows. So don't spill all your beans right now. But I'm going to wrap up tonight's show in a simply traditional way that I always do. So I want both of you hanging tight, not going anywhere. For weeks now, we've been hearing the phrase, the work is just beginning. Coming out of Washington, coming out of Derek Barr's mouth, Sean Duffy's mouth, U.S. Department of Transportation has made it clear that they intend to clean up unsafe and unqualified actors in trucking. But here's what matters most. Cleaning up is reactive, but deterrence is preventable. It is one of the things that I've talked about nonstop in a lot of my recent videos, and I've made it my mission. And Steve, I'm going to give you a chance to talk about your mission in just a minute. Chameleon carriers, fraudulent CDL mills, third-party testing is but just a fraction of the things we need to actually straighten out to make trucking great again. There are structural weaknesses, and structural weaknesses don't correct themselves. If a CDL is supposed to represent competence and professionalism and public trust, and the standard behind it has to mean something, not just for us drivers, but for CDL instructors, examiners, and for the leaders that oversee the rules being given. Because if integrity of the profession begins before the engine ever turns over, then real reform doesn't happen at a roadside inspection. It happens when you turn the road and you get it done right. It happens when you subscribe to this channel. History's shown us something simple. People and institutions respond to incentives. I've made it my mission recently to point out that incentives need to be removed from the equation. If the worst consequence for gaming the system is just an administrative shutdown and a slap on the wrist, then the incentive is obviously still the problem. When the consequences are serious, consistent, and visible, that's when behavior changes. Quality doesn't happen by accident. And as Henry Ford once said, quality means doing it right even when no one is looking. So we're going to keep on the passion, and we're going to keep on the mission here at Truckin City. I encourage you guys to join with us. Look at the description down below. Find Steve's link to the broken CDL system. Take a look at his channel. See what he offers. See if you can contribute to him, because like everyone else, we can make trucking great again. Steve, I'm going to give you a couple more seconds. Let me know, what is it that you're passionate about that makes you want to give back to trucking?
I am passionate about being an advocate for the CDL student to protect their rights. And what I would hope is, if you're watching this video, share it, get it out there. FMCSA, I would say to you, have someone in your department scan the channels. You find Truckin City media. Have someone in your staff look at these channels, see what we are talking about, educate yourself. And that's what I don't see. When I listen closely to the words of Sean Duffy, and I didn't hear, I'm looking for key words, and I haven't heard it yet. He doesn't really know the issues within the company, the FMCSA. If he has people in his staff listening on the internet or YouTube, Facebook, etc., to like Charles Claiborne, etc., CDL Shorty, whoever, if you're listening to them, then you know you have the heartbeat of what's going on in the industry. Maybe in the CDL training system, the broken CDL school system. So it's a broken CDL trucking system is the website, Rolling CDL Trucker on Facebook, CDL Student Tips on Facebook, and my main channel is Trucker Steve, CDL Instructor. But share the video, get the word out.
Amen to that. When it comes to appearances on this show. Steve, we'll be glad to have you back again. I want you to hang through the end of the show, stick around for backstage. Thumper, let me ask you, what makes you so passionate? Because I know one thing about you that nobody else does, in that after you come out of CDL school and after you get on the road, mentorship has always been a big thing with you. So as we round out tonight's show, what say you about mentorship?
Mentorship, yeah, it's a big thing. You know, you don't need a trainer, someone who just shows you this, goes through the motions. You need a mentor, someone that you could call at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning with a question, and someone who is willing to actually sit down and talk to you about what you're doing. And a lot of people kind of know this and they don't know this, but there's another guest on this show that comes on here regularly. He swore up and down he'd never get into livestock, and well, I convinced him to start livestock, and I am surprisingly, he's a little bit older than I am, but I am his mentor when it comes to livestock. He calls me when he has questions and,
amen to that,
stuff like that. So age doesn't
old dogs
mean
can learn new tricks.
Well, the moral of it is like age doesn't matter. It's the experience that matters. Exactly. So yes, mentor. It could come from a young kid, an older guy, older gentleman, young woman, older woman, because there are women in this industry too.
Yep.
But you know, it could come from anybody. But yeah, mentorship is a big thing, and I try to push on it. I try to be a mentor for people, you know, when I can be, and yeah, giving advice, having that phone call whenever you need it, when your phone is on.
Yep.
You know, someone that you could rely on 24/7 and need a phone call or guidance on anything, and that right there's a mentor, not somebody who goes, oh, don't call me between this and this because, you know, I'm going to be sleeping. It don't matter. The trucking industry never sleeps.
Exactly. So on that, how you normally end?
Oh boy, I knew you were gonna start on this one. It's been a good minute since we've done this. I don't know. I thought we had a pretty good show. I definitely learned a lot. You know, got to see stuff from Steve's point of view, who's is an instructor, was an instructor. But yeah, I got to see a point of view that I didn't know and never thought about. So hopefully you guys learned a bunch of stuff. If you got any questions, put them in the comments. You know, one of us will answer eventually. But no, it's kind of how it normally goes. And like Bo and I always say, you know, God bless the troops, EMTs, firefighters. Thank those guys. They do a lot for us.
Yep.
So
they do.
And yeah, another thing that we always say, we don't do it just for us. We do it for you guys.
That's true. Very true indeed. And as always, if you're feeling froggy, wanting to learn the best about what trucking offers, subscribe to Trucking City. Until next time, this is Boss Man saying keep it real, keep it safe, and keep it rolling.